Welcome to Oktoberfest 2021. Won't you join us?
Welcome back to the Project Gen X podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with...
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
All right, so
He's about to do it to me again.
We are in Oktoberfest, and of course we always have to have one really in-depth episode, seemingly in-depth episode where I spend a lot of time doing work and Dave just kind of sits back and enjoys the ride. So
because he has done zero to clue me in on exactly what it is. I know it's horror anthology
television shows.
I'm not even sure I said that word right. Whatever.
It's I have always enjoyed these types of shows, and the
only two I can really think of is Tales from the Crypt and Friday the 13th, the TV show.
We'll get into it because you're wrong on one of those.
What?
Hold on, I'll tell you what. Okay, so the horror anthology, is in my and the what I went with here, and I might even have broken it once or twice on my own rule about this.
So you broke it every single time?
One of them especially, but we'll get to it, is that basically it's not a continuing storyline. That's the whole thing. Is it's like, we have, like if it's a half-hour show, then it's that episode is completely contained in and of itself. The story. Sometimes, like with one of them there that we have later that we're going to talk about, it was an hour-long show with two stories in it that might have had a little bit of a through line, but they weren't a continuation of the story.
Okay.
It's just kind of like, there's a tenuous, maybe a character from this winds up over here in this story for a minute or whatever, but that's all you really have. Or they mention the setting for the first episode or the first part of the episode or whatever,
Gotcha.
But then once the episode's over, the next one will be something completely different. That's
Okay.
I did break that on one of these, so that's why I did not put Friday the 13th the series on here, because that was a continuing story.
Well,
all through
the continuing story was a antique shop where all the antiques were cursed, and they were just trying to get the stuff back.
There was an uncle. There was a guy that had all these cursed antiques in the store.
Right.
It was his niece and nephew who didn't know each other, that they were like, distant relatives or whatever.
Right.
Inherited the place. They started selling off the stuff, just thinking it was a regular antique store, and then come to find out, the guy's old partner came back. It's like, no, this stuff is, So every episode was dealing with a specific antique.
Yeah.
But there was always those two characters, or those three characters
going around trying to get the stuff
exactly.
back.
So it was kind of one of those things where it's not technically an anthology because of that. Yes, it was a Monster of the Week type thing, but it wasn't. And that's why, I didn't put the X-Files on here because,
right.
There were episodes that were very anthology, but there was also the conspiracy thing and Mulder and Scully, the whole fighting the FBI and the government and then Smoking Man and all that stuff. So, you were right with Tales from the Crypt being one of them.
Okay,
but
I'm going to say this right now.
Okay.
With Friday the 13th, when you get to your episode where you break your own rules, I'm going to throw this right back in your face.
Oh, fair enough.
Okay. Just letting you know now.
I'm starting off fairly early on this. Actually, before I get into it, I have three things that I want to bring up, three shows before we get into this. Because I'm starting back in early television here. Okay.
So are you going back to
the 50s? It's
Outer Limits, Twilight Zone.
Hold on. We'll get there. Okay. It actually starts before that.
Sorry, I'm just pulling these right off the top of my head.
So there was a show in 1951, ran from 51 to 53, and this is stuff that you and I guarantee have never seen. Okay, that's why I have these in this.
Okay.
All the rest of this stuff is stuff that I guarantee we've seen at least some of, whether it's in reruns or remakes or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
The first one, like I said, was called Tales of Tomorrow. It was a lot more sci-fi than it was horror.
Actually heard of it.
Yeah, it ran for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
1951 to 1953. The next one was in 1959 to 1961, so it ran for 2 seasons also. It was called One Step Beyond.
I don't know that one.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Here's where we got a couple of interesting ones here, okay? It was 2 seasons here. It was from 1960 to 1962. Probably 3 seasons, honestly, in that time period. But it was called Thriller, and it was hosted by Boris Karloff.
Oh no, I've actually seen some episodes.
You've seen some of this, okay?
Because this would they did some episodes on some of those like the channel that did like the sci-fi monsters and the kaiju
I'm sure
stuff.
At some point, Sci-Fi Channel probably showed some of this. You know?
No, I've actually seen some of those episodes.
This is the one that I found really interesting. It's called Way Out. It came out it was in one season.
That one I've not heard of.
1961. The host for this show was Roald Dahl.
Really?
Yes. So the guy that wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and now I'm blanking on other stuff that he wrote, but hosted this show. It was only 1 season, in like I said, 1961. I'm kind of interested. Those have been released on DVD. I'm kind of interested to go back and watch.
Oh, I'd like to see those. Absolutely.
Because so that's like kind of the not really, because some of these actually. One of these, at least, is in the middle of all this, but it ran for a lot sooner. So I'm going to start this in 1955.
Okay.
Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Good evening.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. That ran from 1955 to 1962. I also, in some of these, and I put this out here, it had a revival in the 80s.
Yeah, I remember
from
that.
1985 to 1989. I remember seeing that one more than
the old one. Yeah,
ones.
Absolutely.
And they did a lot of where they updated. They did the same stories, but they
updated them with new actors and
what's the man from what's the name of it? Hey, quick editor's note. I found out that the name of the episode is Man from the South. It starred Steve McQueen and Peter Lorre. It was from the 5th season of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Now, in 4 Rooms, Quentin Tarantino refers to it as the Man from Rio, but that is not the name. It is Man from the South. It was, okay, you've seen the movie 4 Rooms.
Yes.
Okay, you know the whole thing, the Quentin Tarantino one where they're where they're gonna cut his pinky off.
Yeah,
that's what they're referencing to. It's like the Man from Tahiti or the Man from something like that. Yeah, and that's what the whole there was this was an episode of.
Well, it's because Tarantino was a huge Hitchcock fan anyway.
Right, and I remember seeing the updated version of it, the 80s version, because they did one there. That's where I remember seeing it from. The thing with it is that Alfred Hitchcock Presents ran from 1955 to 1962, but then from 62 to 65, it was just called the Alfred Hitchcock Hour. It was the same thing.
That's interesting. They were just repackaged.
They just repackaged it as the Alfred Hitchcock Hour rather than Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Because this was the thing where he would walk from the right of the screen in profile, and he would stop, and it would be there was an outline, like they would
drawing,
draw the outline. It would be like, and then he would walk off screen.
Yes,
and it would be like the Alfred Hitchcock.
And that was
show.
What is it? Funeral Marionette? Was it Death March of the Marionettes or Funeral of the Marionettes? Yeah, that's where that all started. Came into. What is the name? Is it the Death March of the Marionettes or is it the Funeral? I think it's the Death March of the Marionettes. But that's where what you associate with Alfred Hitchcock outside of the movies is from all that. And he hosted those, he would go, "Hello, I'm Alfred Hitchcock." And
hello, I'm Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, and that, is really an interesting show, especially at the time, because Alfred Hitchcock was huge at the time.
He was huge.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry, his stuff is classics.
You're right,
if you need anybody that has not watched the Alfred Hitchcock movies or even the shows, you need to go back and watch them because
most of them are good. There's a few of them that are not.
There is a lot
Some of his really early stuff's not that great. So.
There's a lot of groundbreaking movie stuff that he did and storytelling that he did that people are still using and copying today.
Yes. The next one that we have in here.
Yeah, okay.
Is the Twilight Zone.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Okay.
Classic.
It ran from 1959 to 1964.
Yep.
Okay, it's 5 or 6 seasons. But the thing is the seasons were like 26, 28 episodes, you know? And the cool thing about it is that Rod Serling wrote the vast majority of them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it wasn't just like, oh, you know, he's hosting this, you know. No, he wrote the vast majority of these, you know.
Yeah.
And again, you know, with the Twilight Zone, there's a lot of sci-fi.
There is a lot of sci-fi.
But there is a lot of horror.
Talking Tina.
Talking Tina. Of course, there's, was it Terror at 20,000 feet or whatever, you know, or 30,000 feet. One of the ones that I, of course now I can't remember the actual name of the episode.
Editor's note again, I found the name of the episode. It is called The Grave. It stars Lee Marvin, James Best, and Lee Van Cleef. It's from season 3. I highly recommend going and watching it.
But it's set in this western town. I always go back to this. It's set in this western town, and this gunfighter comes in because there was this outlaw that he was chasing.
Yeah.
And the town killed him. Killed this outlaw, and he comes in, and they're kind of making accusations that he wasn't really looking for the outlaw. You know, he's a bounty hunter or whatever. You know, saying, "Oh, you weren't. You know, you were scared of him," and blah 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 blah. And it's one of these things. It's wintertime, so there's wind. You can always hear the wind howling in the background. And so basically for him to prove that he wasn't scared, they want him to take a knife up to to his gravesite and stick it in the, prove that, that he's not scared of the guy or whatever, just that way they know that he went up there, he stick the knife in the grave, whatever. So he goes up there, and it's one of those things that he sticks the knife in the grave, and he goes to walk away, and then all of a sudden he falls down. And it's one of those things that the next day the townspeople come out, and he had stuck the knife through his coat into the ground, and so whenever he stood up, they're like, well, he must have thought that the guy came back to life and grabbed him, and he had a heart attack and died,
Yeah.
And they're like, but then his sister's like, no, it's funny because the wind was blowing the opposite direction. It's one of those things where it's kind of, but it's one of the things with it is it's the atmosphere. It's that wind blowing in the background all the time. That's really just
the constant howling.
There were all kinds of those episodes.
The guy that he finally gets his wish. The world's ended. He's the last man on earth. He's in the
all the time in the world. That's the name of the
time in the world with all the books.
And he breaks his glasses. I know.
Yeah.
There was a lot of those types of episodes.
The plastic surgery episode where they're trying to make her more
Eye of the Beholder.
Eye of the Beholder.
And they all have these pig faces, you know, and they're like, oh, she's horrible, and she's
hideous.
Normal. I know.
Yeah.
Or there was the episode where the guy found he found the pocket watch that would stop time.
Yes.
And then he broke it when it was stuck.
Yep.
And he was like, I'll fix it, I promise it. But everything is stuck, and he's, again, that's a little more sci-fi, but they would go into these, like you said, the Talking Tina. There was the episode with the kid that had, everybody was scared of him because he could kill people, like, or he would like teleport them or whatever it was, you know, and it was just like this. So everybody was just like walking on eggshells around him, and
right,
you know, it just.
So I'm guessing because you've got Twilight Zone on here, you've also got to have Outer Limits.
Hold on, we'll get to it. What I was going to get to with the Twilight Zone is that it ran from 1959 to 1964,
right,
and then there was the new Twilight Zone, which was from 85 to 89.
Yeah,
okay. There was
that one came on somewhere close to around when MASH it was
went
like
off the air. Yeah. The MASH went off the air in 82, and this came on afterward. This was on CBS.
For some reason, I've got a tie between MASH and
you know,
the new Twilight Zone.
You want to know what it probably is? Is that MASH used to come on after the news, like in reruns and syndication around here, and they also it wasn't on the same channel. But on another channel at the same time, they had a block. I think it was Channel 17. They had a block where they would show the new Twilight Zone, and
they had
Tales from the Dark Side back to back.
Oh yeah,
which we'll get to Tales from the Dark Side here.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there was that revival, and then there
was forgot about Tales.
Then there was another revival that ran from 2002 to 2003. And then there was another one that was just this most recent one with
I couldn't get into
Jordan
it.
Peele. That was the 19. It only ran. It was from 2019 to 2020. It was.
I really tried to love that version of it.
I've not heard
I
anything
could not
good.
get into it.
I have not heard anything good.
I would get bored about halfway through an episode and change the channel.
What I was going to say, there was a new episode in. Like, you know, that wasn't a remake of one of the old ones in that 80s version. Yeah. That was written by Stephen King.
That doesn't surprise me at all because he was a huge fan of that show.
I think it was called Grandma or something like that. And it's this whole thing where, like, this kid, you know, his grandmother is dying in the house, you know, and he's kind of scared of her to begin with. And so, he thinks she might be a witch, you know, and all this kind of stuff. It's just it's a really good episode. Yeah, you know, it has a lot of like scares to it and stuff.
And probably where he started getting ideas to get with Romero and do Creepshow.
Well, that was after Creepshow.
Is that after Creepshow?
Creepshow came out with 81. Is that what we said?
You're right.
This is later. You know, this is so this is even after the Twilight Zone movie. You know, after that movie did okay, you know, at the theater, then they're like, hey, we will revive this, you know. So anyways, we get to the next one, which is The Outer Limits.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur, or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to the outer limits.
Ran from 63 to 65, which I thought it ran a lot longer than that. And I know that there was a redo.
It was all in reruns for me, but I loved that show.
Now I know that there was a
redo,
but wasn't it more of a they changed the premise? Like the Outer Limits was more of like Twilight Zone. It was a lot more sci-fi than sci-fi.
It's very much sci-fi.
But the new Outer Limits was like
they
didn't it have like a storyline running through all of them or something? I mean, I know Anthony Michael Hall was in it, wasn't he?
I did not enjoy it.
Yeah,
it was not good.
I didn't list that one on here because I didn't think that was actual anthology show.
No.
So then we get into 1970 to 73. We have Night Gallery. This was Rod Serling coming back to television. Night Gallery is a completely different thing than the Twilight Zone.
It's such a different animal. It's not even funny.
I know, and it's good
and creepy,
and very creepy.
Very
and that,
creepy.
the creepy. I think probably the creepiest part of it is Serling in the art gallery in the beginning, in the quote unquote Night Gallery, and they'll have a painting there, and he'll talk about it, and it directly goes into the episode,
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it really got out there on some stuff, where it's like, oh my god, that's a show that's kind of. I think that it's kind of gotten a little lost to history, unfortunately, and it's one that shouldn't have. Because
I wish they would release the episodes on DVD or Blu-ray or somewhere, because I would love to have copies of that.
And part of the reason it didn't go any longer than it did is because Rod Serling died.
Right.
And so they were like, well, we're just,
he became a part of his own gallery.
Yeah. And especially with his legacy in television and what he did between the two shows, it's kind of a perfect capper of, hey, we did all this Twilight Zone stuff, we did a lot of groundbreaking stuff and for television in the early days. Now we're coming back with something completely different.
Yep.
And this might actually be my masterpiece. That's on the way out the door.
It's pretty good. It really is.
Okay, so the next one we're going to jump to, and there's a couple things. Like, there actually was a couple of like one season here or there, 13 episodes or whatever between 73 and 83 when we're coming back into this, which is, you remember the Hitchhiker?
Vaguely.
Okay, it started off, I think it was on HBO, if I'm not mistaken, and then it became syndicated. And it wasn't, this is before HBO was like, hey, we're HBO, we can do whatever we want to.
Yeah.
It ran from 1983 to 1991. I didn't realize it ran that long.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I remember seeing this because we didn't have HBO at the time, but I remember seeing it in syndication. USA used to show it quite a bit.
That's where I know it
exactly.
from. Okay.
And basically what it was is that you had this guy, this hitchhiker, that it would show him like walking down the road or whatever, and then he would turn around and start talking to the camera and basically set up the episode.
Right.
He, as a general rule, was not in the episode. I think he was, and it was one of those things where he was kind of an Easter egg.
In the background somewhere,
or it might actually be one of those things where like they drive past him on the side of the road, in some episodes or something. It was something weird like that where it was like, I think they did try to incorporate him in somewhere in every episode. I could be completely wrong about that. It's been a while since I've seen the episode.
Be a good premise.
But I remember, and they were all, it was basically him like, oh, let me tell you a story about, whatever,
Yeah.
And then he would come back around and he would talk about it at the end.
He would cap it off,
and then he would start walking down the road,
stick that thumb out.
Yeah, with the backpack on, and walking and stuff. So I had almost forgotten about it until I started doing the research. It's like, oh yeah, I do remember this. But I did not realize it was on the air for 8 years. That's
crazy.
I know, and it's because the thing is that it lasted longer than this next show, which is one we all remember, which is Tales from the Dark Side.
Sunlit world of what he believes to be reality. But there is, unseen by most, an underworld, a place that is just as real, but not as brightly lit. A dark side.
I loved this show.
This show was amazing, and it ran from 84 to 88. Now, the reason that we think that it ran much longer is because it was in syndication forever after this. And it has one of the creepiest theme songs ever.
It does.
And
of course,
I will put it in here.
All the footage of going like through the trees
and that whole that voiceover, and they invert, like, it's like, it starts with, it's already like saturated, really saturated,
right.
And then they invert it, and it's just like, oh my goodness, And again, Tales from the Dark Side had episodes that were a little more sci-fi, here and there, and that kind of stuff. But it really did deal with a lot of
horror and sci-fi tend to walk hand in
really
hand
do.
Anyway.
This was more horror than anything. Two of the episodes that always stand out with me from this show.
All right.
One of them, I think it's called The Carnival. It was from the second season.
Oh, no, I know exactly.
You know what I'm talking about? Where it's this newspaper reporter comes in, and he's this real, like he's kind of being a jerk to this ringmaster at this carnival, like, all your carny stuff and blah, 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 blah. And the guy's clearly some kind of ghoul, and it's one of those things where he's and he's like trying to show him like parts of his show, and he has a vampire that like eats a lamb, like right in front of, like bites its neck and everything, and he's like, and you think this is a kid, this is a family show, blah blah blah. Obviously, he's got a razor blade or something in there. And he did this and blah 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 blah. And it's one of those things that at the end of it, he becomes a part of the show, of the sideshow. I think he's the mummy or something like that. Like they have him I remember him being in a casket, whatever.
No,
or sarcophagus or something.
They totally kidnap him and turn him into part of
it's really like a
sideshow
cool episode.
Yeah.
The other one I remember. And this is the way Tales from the Dark Side would do a lot of these episodes, where it's this woman, she's at home, and she gets a phone call. And she picks it up, and she hears a voice on the other line that she recognizes, but she can't quite pin down who it is. And she keeps, and the woman's crying, and she says, he's dead, oh my God, or something like that, and it's one of those things that, like, and like it goes dead, and she's trying to figure out. Of course, she calls her sister thinking it might be her. It wasn't her. She kind of goes through they go through all that stuff, and then I'm trying to remember the exact thing. She calls the phone company, and she's trying to get them to reverse, like, hey, I got this phone call. It's disturbing. I think it might be somebody's in trouble. And blah 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 blah. So it's one of those things where like. They just don't get any closure.
Doesn't it like turn out to be her?
It's her. It's down the line, years down the line. And her husband, she finds her husband dead.
Right.
And she goes over and she picks up the phone and calls, and it's her calling back in time.
Yeah. I was like, this is starting to ring a bell. I'm somewhat remembering this episode.
There were several of those. There was an episode where like. There was an episode where it dealt with a lottery, and like this person, like his number was supposed to, like he made it, like he cast a spell, and the number is supposed to be 666, but it comes out to be 667, and then he goes to find out like what went wrong, and he goes and finds the person, and comes to find out she's a better sorcerer than he is, and it's it's there's several things like that. There's a bunch of and some of them get there. I know there was one where this guy was like collecting people's tears. And
some of the stuff got a little
out
weird.
There.
Some of them are right down like, I'm gonna have trouble sleeping tonight.
So that was Tales from the Dark Side. That show was great. I thoroughly, and that's all on. Matter of fact, I've got the complete.
What?
I've got the complete series on DVD in there. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've had it for a while. So
we need to talk afterwards.
Yes. So the next one that we have, and again, this one veers off into some other sci-fi and more fantastical, but it was Amazing Stories.
Oh, I remember those.
It's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, no, I remember them. It actually came on somewhere right around the young Indiana Jones.
Maybe it's 85 to 87.
I feel like those two were tied. The Amazing Stories I never really got into. It wasn't that good of a series.
Again, there's a lot more sci-fi and just fantastical stuff than there is horror, but there are some horror episodes in this. It ran for 2 seasons. It's pretty good. I think they tried to revive it a little while back, and it didn't come back.
Like
But then we get into the next one, which is 1988 to 1990, 2 seasons worth. It's Freddy's Nightmares. Which, that is basically Freddy Krueger had gotten bigger than the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and it had become the focus of all of it. So they're like, hey, we can spin this off into a television show. It was a syndicated show.
No budget.
Yeah.
Bad.
2 seasons worth.
Bad production.
It's 3 seasons worth. Or is it 2 or 3? I can't remember. I have them all.
It's terrible.
And it's one of those things that they're kitschy. It's fun to go back and see who was on the show.
That would be okay.
That's a lot of fun,
I get that, but the fact that somebody would, hey, we should make the show, and somebody over at Guiding Light's like, well, we've got that set over there we're not using,
I know.
And there's that equipment over there that we're not using.
But you also have to remember, in 1988, this was like, hey, I can watch Freddy on television every week, and I did. Of course, it was syndicated, so it kind of moved around the dial quite a bit, and so I would I know when it's going to be on, and then they changed it 6 months later, and then it's I finally found it again, and then it would be on for 6 months or so, and then it would move again, and it's kind of like with Friday the 13th,
right?
It started off on one network and it went to another one.
It jumped networks so many times
because they were all syndicated.
Funny.
It was just whatever UHF station picked it up this time, and then wherever they slotted it in, because it was never in the same spot.
No, and a lot of times they would try to use it as like a
filler,
a tent peg or a filler, for some other show that they were tent poling.
Right. So the next one that I have here ran from 1988 to 1991. This is Monsters.
Honey, it's family hour. There must be something on.
Oh, wow! Candy critters!
Oh, great. It's Monsters, our favorite show.
It's starting.
You remember Monsters?
No.
Okay. Monsters is kind of like Tales from the Dark Side.
Okay.
It had a tendency to be a little lighter. It was a little more comedy. Not really comedy, but it would be a little more humorous. Let's put it that way. Okay. Yeah. It had one of the greatest swerves in the opening ever.
Sure. Okay.
No, seriously, it did.
I've never even heard of this show.
Okay, so this was, like I said, and part of it was, again, this was in that block of, that's what it was. It was Tales from the Dark Side, Monsters, and then the new Twilight Zone would play. Okay. That's what it was. Sure. I remember that, and then there was something else that came on after it that was kind of in that vein, but I didn't like, and that's why I didn't watch it.
Sure.
But Monsters has one of the greatest swerves in the opening, where it's one of those things where it's kind of doing that HBO thing where it's going down Main Street, and it's like, oh, just right, and it goes up to this house. You see through the window, you can see the shadows of the family, and they're like, oh, hey, the show's getting ready to start. Hey, who's got the popcorn? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And then it pulls in, and it's a family of monsters getting ready to watch the show Monsters, and it's just one of those oh, okay. And that kind of sets the tone for what they, and so, and it would veer off into the horror from time to time, but there usually was it was a little lighter than
it was more family friendly.
Yeah, maybe. Like I said, it was a little more humorous than the other ones. Yeah, usually, rather than just some ironic twist, it was a humorous ironic twist. Rather than just a mean ironic twist to the stories.
You know what happens when you boil a funny bone, don't you? You get a laughing stock, and that's humorous.
Anyway, so our next show that we have here.
Sorry, you kept saying the word humorous, and my cousin's joke just kind of
So the next one ran from 1989 to 1996.
Okay.
Tales from the Crypt.
Yes, there we go.
All right, this is the one Dave's been waiting to get to.
There we go.
All right.
You want to talk about a show that I had to work to watch because
it came on HBO.
My parents would not pay for HBO. So I was literally, every red cent I could scrape together to buy empty VHS tapes.
To have somebody record them. Right.
Hey, do you have HBO?
Can you record this
for me? Can you record this for me?
I know.
Yeah.
And that was, I didn't get to see much of the show when it was actually in its initial run because we did not have, we would go through periods of having HBO. Well, we would have it, and then we wouldn't, and then we'd have it, and we wouldn't. And, of course, if there was a free preview weekend...
That was the only way I ever got to see
you
them.
You would record that one episode and watch it over and over and over and over and over again.
Right.
Now, in the early to mid-90s somewhere, I remember them syndicating the show, and they kind of cleaned it up a little bit.
They had to clean it up a lot. Let's be honest about it.
Not as much as you remember. As you remember, like it was one of those things on HBO. So yeah, you would have they would have language, and there would be
cut out the language,
and there would be some nudity occasionally, but it wasn't.
They would have to cut it, but it was mainly the blood and the guts they were having to clean up.
That was more. There was more blood and guts than there was anything else in the show, and of course the Crypt Keeper became a huge thing. You know that puppetry is just amazing. Of course, it spun off 2 movies. You know, actually 3 movies. I think, but it's 3
movies. I know you hate the one.
It also spun off a Saturday morning cartoon called Tales from the Crypt Keeper, and it was basically there was 3 seasons of it. It's a weird thing because it ran from like 1993 to like 1995, like with 2 seasons, but then it came back in 1999 for 1 season.
I totally don't remember this.
I do. I remember seeing it. It came on like ABC, like Saturday mornings.
All right.
Okay, I think that's right. I believe it was ABC. Was it ABC or was it Fox? It was one of the 2. But it was they were really clean. Like it was still like that Crypt Keeper type stuff. But
yeah,
they
had
made
to make it
kiddie, you know, more than anything. What are you looking at?
Never mind. Never mind.
All right. Here's one that you may or may not remember.
Okay.
You remember Playboy used to have television? Playboy TV?
No, I don't have any clue about that.
Yeah, okay. So there was Playboy had. I think they still have a television channel like on like upper tier cable somewhere. You know, it's paper. It's like extra whatever. It was usually available on like satellite. You know, that was kind of one of those things. They had a show.
Okay, wait. For those who don't know, let's talk about what we mean
Playboy.
when we say satellite.
Oh, satellite was not the same as cable.
We're not talking about Dish TV.
No. Well,
okay, we're not talking about...
This was an actual huge satellite.
This thing was a satellite...
My neighbors still have a satellite dish.
Grab a picture of it.
Yeah.
But this thing, they would come out and they would install this in your yard.
This thing was massive.
And it looks like you have installed a radio station in your yard. It really does.
And it was one of those things that literally whenever you would switch satellites, that thing would move.
Yeah.
To like, it just...
And they gave you an actual like star map of where the satellites were going to be at what time.
Right.
And it was a major production to get this thing in on the satellite you want.
Right.
And if you missed a show on HBO Satellite 1, you could swing that thing around to HBO Satellite 3.
And there was a lot of stuff that was available on satellite that wasn't even available on cable that was really uncensored, and, you know, Spice Channel and different stuff like that was like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
it was straight up porn, basically, is what it came down to.
It was education when you went over to a friend's house for a sleepover.
Hey, check this out.
And at like 1 in the morning, you would wake up and you would catch your friend like watching something. And you're like, what are you watching?
I know. And they're like, and it was both the greatest and scariest thing that you'd ever seen in your life.
It's like, I can't believe you're watching this, you're gonna get caught. You're gonna get caught.
And that was a thing. If it was on one television, it was on all televisions.
Yeah.
So it wasn't one of those things where like, oh, I can sneak in here and watch something on this TV that my parents aren't watching. No, if it's on a station, it's on that station everywhere.
Because you had one box that fed every TV in the house.
Right. So anyway, Playboy Television had a show called Inside Out that was an anthology horror / sci-fi thing. It was 1 season long.
Truthfully, I've never heard of this show.
Honestly, it was funny because I found this. I remember seeing, like when I found this when I was doing my research here, like going through anthology shows and stuff, and I saw as soon as I saw the artwork, I remember that box at the video store like that I used to work at, like because we had our little like softcore whatever stuff, and I was like, oh, I remember this, like the box, like the the art design that was on it, because it didn't feature like I'll have to show you. I'll have to put it up, just because it's one of those things where it's like there's nothing like salacious about it whatsoever, other than the fact that it says Playboy at the top and has a little bunny logo. It's just kind of, but it's one of those things that Playboy tried to get into this a little bit in 1 season. I think it might have actually only been like one show that was like an hour and a half long or something that they had at least 3 stories in or something. They were trying to start something and it just didn't go anywhere.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I've never seen it, but it was just like, all right, Playboy tried it, along with everybody else. Okay. The next one also came out in 1991 to 2000. This is a big departure from what we just talked about. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
R.L. Stine.
Yes. And this ran for 9 years.
Yeah.
I knew it ran for a long time.
This was a Nickelodeon show.
Was it Nickelodeon?
I believe it was a Nickelodeon show.
I think it also got syndicated over onto some other stuff.
I think it eventually did, but it started out over on the Nickelodeon channel, if I remember right.
Well, the other one is Goosebumps, which is R.L. Stine.
Also R.L.
Which
Stine.
ran from 95 to 98, so they were on at the same time.
Yeah.
And now that one, Goosebumps, I know was on like Fox Kids.
Yeah.
That was because they used to advertise that stuff all the time, and those we talked about them a little bit in our Fear Street, about the stuff that like those were actually pretty decent. They were books.
Yep.
And then they made this television series, and they're actually pretty good. Even though they're geared towards kids, they're actually pretty good. They're fun.
I mean, the
They're
Are You Afraid of the
fun.
Dark started with the kids all sitting around the campfire telling ghost stories.
Yeah, they're playing campfire stories, basically. Yeah. And that's exactly how that one. Yeah, and then the Goosebumps, it really had a lot of like throwback to Twilight Zone style.
Right.
There really was a lot of that to it.
If you actually go back and look at the R.L. Stine stuff, and this guy was prolific, like cannot even believe. But a lot of
Are You Afraid of the Dark? Goosebumps, Fear Street. I mean, it's just like, wow.
But if you go back and actually look at it, you can tell what a fan he was of that 50s and 60s pulp fiction, horror, sci-fi, all that stuff. Because
what do they call it? Like Space Age or whatever, type,
because the artwork kind of mimics that, the storylines kind of mimic that. I mean, you can tell where he's drawing, he's drawing out of to write all of his stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's part of the reason why it's so popular, because it is such a great fountain to draw from.
Right. So these next two I have here are kind of breaking my rules a little bit.
All right, this is where I get to throw it back in your face.
I said kind of, okay. Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction?
Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction. Hosted by Jonathan Frakes. Tonight, your challenge is to separate what is true from what is false. 5 stories, some real, some fake. Can you judge which are fact and which are fiction? To find out, you must enter a world of both truth and deception. A world that is beyond belief.
I barely have a hint of a memory of this show.
It ran from 1997 to 2002. I forget who it was that started off hosting it the first season, but Jonathan Frakes hosted it after that. And basically what they
production
would do,
on this thing was not great either.
This was, and I remember this running on Sci-Fi quite a bit.
This is where he started, really trying to flex his directing and producing muscles.
This is after the
Next Generation show.
Well, Generation was... No, what I was going to say, this was post Alien Autopsy.
Yeah.
That whole thing that he hosted on Fox, it was an hour long, fact or fiction, type stuff.
Yeah.
And they put this thing in, and the only reason I put it in here is because it does kind of qualify in the fact that they would have 3 stories, and they would dramatize the stories, and one of them was quote unquote true, based on something that happened.
Which of these stories is true?
And the other 2 were complete fabrications.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of one of those things where like, okay, well, you're getting 2 stories here that are
bullcrap.
That are paranormal in some way, that that whatever. And so I allowed this one because of that. This show, like I said, the production was bad on it. He was
terrible.
overly dramatic in his.
He was really trying to be the guy from Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, he was trying to be Robert Stack in a lot of ways. Unsolved Mysteries, dude. That next year for Oktoberfest we might ought to dig.
Yeah,
because some of those things were downright scary.
Oh yeah. We grew up in the generation where you went outside, you didn't have to be home until the streetlights came on.
Right.
And if you didn't make it home, you ended up on Unsolved Mysteries,
just like nature intended.
Just like nature intended.
Exactly. Did I ever tell you the story about my mom? Actually, no, it wasn't. It wasn't Unsolved Mysteries. It was what was the one that John Walsh hosted? America's Most Wanted.
Oh yeah,
about somebody calling the cops thinking that she was somebody that they saw. What? Yeah.
Someone snitched on your mom?
My parents. This is back in the early 90s somewhere.
Okay.
And my parents went to eat. There used to be a Shoney's over here, and they went to eat. And it was one of those things that this was not unusual.
No, that was store number 1 for
the
Shoney's.
One right over here in Madison Square. Yeah.
That was,
And it was, and they ate there a lot.
Everybody ate there a lot.
Yeah, but it was one of those things that, they were in there quite a bit. And apparently, the week prior on America's Most Wanted, they profiled some woman who had embezzled a bunch of money from a couple different companies and disappeared or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the servers there thought it was my mom and called the cops. And it was one of those things, they went outside and there's a cop kind of hanging out and wanted to ask some questions, of and stuff. It was huh? And it's funny because Dad was telling me about this, laughing about it and everything.
Yeah.
And he's eventually they actually saw the episode and they're didn't look like her at all. It's
well, as we all know, snitches get stitches.
Exactly.
So I hope your mom went back and cut her.
Man.
Because your mom seems like the kind of cool person that would do that.
My mom's pretty cool, but she's a very live and let live type person. She's nonviolent.
Snitches get stitches,
which means she's
every
probably a secret assassin or something.
She's a spook. Your mom's a spook.
You've been listening to No Agenda too much. So.
Everybody's a spook.
I know. Yeah. So the next one,
just in case, ITM.
Again, I'm kind of breaking. Did you ever see the show Freaky Links?
Here we go.
No.
Okay. It ran from 1 season.
Never even heard of it.
From 2000 to 2001. I think this was a Fox show as
well,
if I'm not mistaken. It was kind of riding the coattails of the X-Files.
Okay.
And it had Ethan Embry was the main character. The main whatever. And it was based around the internet. Freaky Links,
Oh, gotcha.
Where they were basically running. They were basically running down paranormal stuff, and every episode it was a.
Hang on a second.
Okay. All right, we're back. Dave had to go hack up a lung.
Sorry about that. Alan may have inadvertently just tried to
kill
poison
him.
me.
Yeah.
I've got a slight allergy to cinnamon, and if it's airborne, it can shut down my air passages.
So we were talking about Freaky Links, and yeah, it was kind of like I said, it was kind of in that vein of the X-Files.
Yeah.
You know, and it only ran for one season. It was all right. I mean, I've gone back and caught episodes of it, and I think there might have been some kind of overarching through line, but I don't.
You mean like Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
This is where I throw it back in your face.
I said kind of.
I
well,
told
I've
you
got
I was
another
gonna
one
do
that really, and I think you'll be okay with it though. So we go from Freaky Links to 2005 to 2007. Now this is a little different. Masters of Horror. You remember this?
Oh, was this like on one of the pay channels?
I think it was on Showtime, if I'm not mistaken. It was Showtime.
I think I had to catch this way after
they were all
aired.
put out on DVD, and basically what it was that like they got different horror directors.
Wait, Masters of Horror.
Yes.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about because I've got the 2-disc soundtrack for this thing where it was all heavy metal.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where they got these different horror directors to come in and do mini movies, basically.
Right,
They weren't full-length movies, but they were longer than normal episodes, you know, and so, I mean, yeah, they got some, matter of fact, let me pull up all the directors they got on this.
Yeah, and the soundtrack was just like, holy crap,
I
are you
know.
kidding me?
Masters of Horror. Come on. Seriously?
I was like, this sounds very familiar. What's he talking about? And then when you told me, I was like, yes, absolutely.
Masters of Horror. So, they had... Jeez, who directed all? There was 26 episodes in all. And so it was one of those things where, like, they had, like, I think Stephen or Stuart Gordon did one. Toby Hooper. Let's see who else. Dario Argento. You know, so it was one of those things where they got like, you know, some pretty big names. Mick Garris.
I think Stephen King did one.
Joe
didn't he?
Dante. John Landis. John Carpenter.
Ooh, which one did Carpenter do?
Cigarette Burns.
Oh, that's right.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. There's some other. I mean, some of these I don't recognize, like big names. You know, like Lucky McGee. I don't know who that is. Let's see. Larry Cohen. So I mean, it's one of those. Like I said, they got some pretty big name people to come in.
Yeah. The sound they actually released.
Takeshi Miike did one.
Oh, really?
Also, yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, they actually released 2 volumes of soundtrack from these things, and both volumes were dual disc CDs. Mm-hmm. And on volume 1, you had bands like Mudvayne, It Dies Today, Funeral for a Friend, Shadows Fall, The Bled, Murder by Death, Mastodon, Death by Stereo. Yeah, Buckethead was on this.
Oh, there you
Rise
go.
Against was on this, From Autumn to Ashes.
Oh, actually, John Carpenter did a couple of them. He did another one called Pro-Life. Pelts. I remember this one. That was Dario Argento.
Fear
also,
Before the March of Flames. You know, that's some... Volume 2 had people like Hatebreed, Cradle of Filth, Lacuna Coil, Eagles of Death Metal, Chimera, All That Remains. You know, I mean,
yeah. So it's one of those things that they did a really good job of bringing in, you know,
some heavy hitters,
you know, to come in and do these episodes, and I know that they they did like these little mini box sets for the movies where like they would put like both the John Carpenter episodes, because basically what it was is that they each did an episode each season, and so it was one of those, they would put them together as, oh, this is the John Carpenter collection, this is the Dario Argento, this is the type stuff. And it was, some of them were really good, some of them were
not so good.
I mean, but that's, you get that with any of it, but it was still an interesting.
The bands that were not so okay, I didn't even mention.
Yeah, so
like Andrew WK was one of them that I didn't mention. It's like no, that's not metal.
Did you see who he married here recently? Kat Dennings.
Kat Dennings
and Andrew WK just got married not long ago. I know.
Oh, I'm so sad.
I know.
I love Kat Dennings. How could she be so dumb?
Well, you know how it is when women get around musicians. Don't look at me like that. Anyway, so I have here's the next one that I have here. In 2011, and this one is still an ongoing show, and this is kind of breaking the rules a little bit.
All right.
American Horror Story. Because every season
is a different horror
story.
But it's all the same actors, all the same characters.
It's not all the same characters. I know that they have pulled some of them together. But it's one of those things where it's the same actors playing different roles every season. There is
not every season.
Again, I know that there are some. They've started trying to tie this stuff together.
There's fan theories that this is actually.
There's not even just fan theories. They have actually. Now I
they actually outright come and said they're talking about Dante's Inferno.
I don't know about that, but
that's the fan theory, is that these are all tied into Dante's Inferno, and each season is actually another level.
I know that
the underworld,
that they tied in Asylum with Freak Show.
Right.
Like they had that you saw the Asylum at some point, like and one of the characters comes into it. They also tied in Coven with Apocalypse.
Yeah.
You saw, the same. As a matter of fact, they had the same actors play dual roles in this, and so it's one of those things where like they've tied in here and there, but every season is an anthology. Basically, it's a story, and then they go to something else, and then they go to something else, and they go to something else. And I know, like here recently, they've been doing was it double feature or something like that, and there was a whole deal with like the aliens, which goes back to Asylum again. I mean, it's there's a whole bunch of that, but technically, it's an anthology. Technically, even though it's not a episode to episode anthology, it's a season to season anthology.
I think you're according to the premise that you laid out at the beginning of the episode that you were going to go with, you're really stretching the taffy on this one.
This one, that's okay. I have one more. It's another one that's still ongoing.
Okay.
In 2019, we got the premiere of Creep Show on Shudder. Okay.
Which I have not been able to watch because I refuse to pay for yet another streaming service. I've had to cut me and the wife have had to pare our streaming services way back.
I have seen the first season of this. It's good for the most part. It's kind of when you go back, like we covered Creepshow last year.
Yeah.
And that first Creepshow was still pretty good. I think there's like maybe one story in there that I can do without, other than that, it's pretty solid. Then you get to the Creepshow 2, and there's like the story of the raft is really good.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of that movie is not. And then I know there is a Creepshow 3 that's didn't you watch it?
No, I did not
Okay,
watch
somebody
it.
Watched it, but apparently it is terrible. I mean, just terrible.
I haven't seen anything past the first Creepshow because I was like, I'm not going to waste my time on this.
The second one, like I said, there's one story in there called The Raft that is really good, but the rest of it is just like, what? Oh, okay. They were just trying to, capitalize on the fact that Creepshow did so well, when it was released
on VHS.
Yeah, I didn't do well, but it gained a big enough following to where they were like, oh, we can do another one.
Well, it became a cult classic,
right?
And it was only after it was on VHS and Beta.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It was on Betamax at one point.
So when they did this show, some of them are good, some of them are
Nick,
not.
What's his name? That's also doing Walking Dead. What's his name? Nick.
Nick Frost.
No,
Nick Garrett?
it's one of the producers from The Walking Dead.
I don't know. Anyways, like I said, I watched that first season, and some of it's good, and some of it's not, and you just okay. I haven't gotten into the second season, and I think the third. I haven't watched the second one, and the third one's getting ready to premiere. So I'm all about, hey, bring us back another, some more horror anthology shows. There's plenty of stories to mine. Just going back to like the Tales from the Crypt. All those EC comics. That's awesome that they went back to that. Why not just do more? I think there has actually been talk of a new Tales from the Crypt. Am I not?
I haven't heard is.
I'm almost positive I saw something about HBO's wanting to bring it back.
As somebody who that's one of the streaming services
that
I have refused to give up, and so if they bring back Tales from the Crypt, I'm going to be all over that.
I'm almost positive. Let me look here real quick. I remember seeing something about a revival of this. What do we got? Tales from the Crypt revival series. Yeah, here we go. When was this from? Oh, see.
Sorry, Greg Nicotero from Walking Dead is one of the producers for it.
This here. Oh, no. Let me see if this is still. Nope, it's dead. Never mind.
Oh, don't you tease me like that.
They were going to do it for TNT, but no. Do you know who was going to head it up?
No.
M. Night Shyamalan. So
okay, that guy can't write a horror movie to save his life.
I know. So that went away, but it seems like I remember hearing something even since then about
M. Night Shyamalan, ding dong.
About HBO bringing it back. I could be wrong, but maybe it's just wishful thinking. but yeah, it's still one of those things where that those types of shows I still love because they are very palatable. I can sit down for half hour or an hour and watch
catch a couple episodes,
an episode or two
and
or
then
three
go
or
do
something, and go do something else and come back and not have to worry about what was going on, what was okay, let's go into this is something whole different,
Right.
American Horror Story is a little different with that. The thing about American Horror Story, I watched that first season when it came on the air 10 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long, and I was just enthralled with it.
Sure.
But what I always said about that show is that I never felt good at the end of it. That was one of those shows is I really like, I'm not going to say I enjoy, I like this and all, and I'm interested in what's going on.
But then you felt like you needed to go take a shower afterwards?
But not even just that. It's just that, like, you never come away with a good feeling afterwards. You know, it was just because it was just so, like, dark and dire. And of course, then when we find out, you know, the end of it, that, you know, they were all dead, and it was you know, this was them. They were all ghosts. You know, they kept talking about the ghosts, but come to find out they were all ghosts. You know.
Yeah.
And then, you know.
Oh, but spoiler alert for those
10-year whatever.
Yeah.
You don't know about it at this point. but it was kind of cool that, like, you know, oh, we're gonna come back next year with something different, and then we're gonna come back the next year with something different. And then whenever they did the Freak Show, I watched that one because I love all that circus and carnival aesthetics and stuff, and I really enjoyed that as well. And I started watching Hotel when that one came on, and I got about 3 episodes in. And
you watched that because of who the main character on it was being played by.
Lady Gaga, whatever. But it was still one of those things where, like, coming off that previous season, I'm like, okay, well, I'll go over and watch this. Yeah. Like I said, I watched like 3 episodes of it, and like, I'm not into this.
What was the one where
Apocalypse was the next one that I watched, which was another few seasons down the line.
What was
and
one
I really liked
had
that
the
one.
kid that played Quicksilver in the X-Men
He's
movies?
been in like all of them.
Well, but it was like he plays a cult leader.
Cult?
Is
there
that
was
what
one
it was?
called Cult. But
that was a season that I actually got into. That was actually pretty interesting.
The problem I had with that is that they were getting very political with that, and like real world politics were involved in that. And I'm like, no, this is no, okay. And you know, Ryan Murphy, you know, I was forced to watch Glee whenever I was married to my second wife.
Okay.
And it's one of those things that on paper, Glee is one of those things that, like, I would like, you know? And I just didn't, because Ryan Murphy just hits you over the head, like, all the time. He just hits you over the head, hits you over the head with his politics and his, you know, this and that and blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine, whatever. A lot of which I agree with. You know, fine, but I don't need to get hit over the head every time I turn on an thing. And then this one didn't until that season, and then
the only thing good to ever come out of Glee was the Thriller Heads Will Roll mashup.
All right, but the thing with Ryan Murphy, you know, like, I really enjoyed the what was it, the O.J. Simpson, the American Crime Story. You know, they've done a couple of them. There was O.J. Simpson, and there was the murder of.
No, I don't like those at all.
Versace and you know, and a few things like that. It's like, okay, they're all right. But did you ever see Scream Queens?
No.
That first season of Scream Queens was great. I don't know what happened with the second one because it kind of got buried. The first one didn't do like the ratings that they wanted it to do.
Right.
And then the second one just kind of. But that first season is so. Like, okay, I'm on board with this. I'm on board. Okay. But not Anthology. But just Ryan Murphy is really hit or miss. Like, really hit or miss.
Mostly miss for me.
And I agree with that. Like I said, I just named 4 seasons of television that I really liked out of all the seasons of television that he's done.
Yeah.
And that tells you where I land on that. So, anyway, so that's our rundown of television. And there were some other things that were like lasted for a season that I didn't put on here that I'd never heard of before. A lot of it was like I was trying to go with, and the reason I gave those first 4, you know, like with Thriller and, you know, Way Out and all that stuff was like From Beyond. You know, it's like
that's
this
kind of
is
where
interesting.
it started.
It's where it started. It's that early days of television,
right?
But it all kind of led into, once we get to the Twilight Zone, this is where it kicks off. And it's stuff that we have seen our entire lives.
Right.
Because it's always... Twilight Zone used to come on in the afternoons, you know, whenever I was a kid.
Well, it seemed like if you were flipping the channels...
And hearing that intro would always get me running to the TV, you know.
It seemed like at one point during my childhood, if you were to flip through what channels you had... Mm-hmm. Twilight Zone would play 3 times a day on like 3 different channels.
Yeah, sometimes.
And it was like in the afternoon... slightly after the news on one of the UHF channels, and then like again after like the 10 o'clock news, and it's like you would have 10 o'clock news, you would have
it would come on after the news.
You would have the late shows,
right?
And then
depending on what it was, I mean, because like again, it was in the days before CBS had, you know, David Letterman, you know, when Letterman was still over on NBC after Johnny Carson being on the Tonight Show. ABC and CBS didn't have late night shows like that.
They would
So it was
they
one
would
of those
buy
things-
up the cheap syndicated shows
and,
for time filler.
And you remember when like CBS had their primetime after primetime? You remember that? And like that's like Forever Night was on there, and it was like, you know.
Oh, I remember that show.
So basically, what it was, since they didn't have anything, like since they didn't have anything back, this is like in the late '80s, early '90s. They would like basically have like a 2-hour block of new shows that were like high budget, and you know, it was that kind of stuff that was, and they called it was the prime time after prime time.
Yeah, but they tended to be more dull. They tended to be a little darker because
Right.
you were past the safe harbor laws at that point.
In some ways, yeah. But it was when I was, it's like, okay, that's pretty neat. But they also, like your local affiliate, if CBS wasn't running something,
Right.
they would show, you know, ABC, our local ABC, which is Channel 2 here, used to show, that's where MASH used to come on after the news like every night.
MASH.
You know? So it was that kind of stuff where it was, okay, you know, of course, if you had Fox, you know, it was a long time before our local Fox affiliate had an actual, like, newsroom, or, you know, where they showed, like, we've only had, like, local Fox affiliate news for like what, maybe 15 years or so,
maybe 15
something like
years,
that. Maybe a little longer than that, but it's still one of those things that in the grand scheme of it all, it hadn't been that long. So, you know,
but what's funny is they came in and
starting
immediately kicked Channel 2's butt.
But starting at like 10 o'clock, you know, Central Time, they would just start showing syndicated television shows of some sort, and a lot of times, usually once you got past 10:30, was when you would start seeing reruns of Tales from the Dark Side or The Twilight Zone, or you know, whatever it was type stuff. And so that was the good stuff, and especially on the weekends.
Oh yeah,
the weekends
absolutely
was just like,
on the weekends.
Now I know, and for a long time, and I don't know if they still do it or not, but Sci-Fi used to on Christmas Day do Twilight Zone marathons. Or either Christmas Day or New Year's Day. I can't remember. Actually, sometimes it was both. And so it was...
This is news to me.
Really?
Because,
because I used to watch them all the time. Like, I think it was actually New Year's Day that they would
because
do
a lot of time it's we're either doing family stuff, playing games or whatever.
No, it was Christmas Day. I take that back because I remember one year like getting home early.
TBS with a Christmas story.
Right. I remember getting home early from Christmas stuff, you know, with the family, and turning on the television and watching like 3 hours of Twilight Zone episodes,
that would be
you know?
great.
And so I'm all about, especially with anthology shows, having like marathons. That's, have an all-day marathon, have a whatever, you know.
Absolutely.
And so anyways, I will put links, or I'll put on our YouTube page, I'll put at least the intros to all this stuff, and if I can find a couple episodes here and there, I'll put up a playlist of some of this stuff, of some of the ones that we remember, you know, that kind of a little,
or that we can find,
is probably more of it. But it's I'm glad that we have Creepshow because it's keeping the tradition alive, but we need more. I really would like to see somebody, you know, it doesn't even have to be like, you know, one of the major like networks, you know, the four networks. You know, somebody like a TNT or you know, we talked about that, or a TBS or maybe something where they do like a half-hour horror anthology of some sort. Yeah, and
make it good. Don't be cheap and, you know.
Well,
just
you know, it's so funny.
It's
so funny with all that you get a show like The Walking Dead, okay, which we can debate all day whether or not it's a horror show. I really think it's more of a human drama than it is a horror show.
No, I would agree with that.
You know, but you know, something like that comes along.
It definitely doesn't measure up to the comic.
Oh no, but it comes along, and for a while, it really dominates the zeitgeist. You know, of like this becomes a huge thing. Yeah, and you know, you'll get something like that, but then it's like,
I mean, zombies became so popular that people were taking drugs to become zombies in Florida.
Florida, I would believe that. But yeah, so I don't know why something like this wouldn't work again, is basically what I'm getting down to. No, it should. It would. If it's good, I do believe that it would work. I know I'd watch it.
If the storytelling is good, if the writing is good, if the production is good, I mean, it doesn't even have to be
maybe you bring in some big talent like directing or something, or writing, know, type thing. Just for,
I mean, it doesn't even have to be an hour show.
No, like I said, half hour is fine.
Half hour is great.
Almost everything that we ran down there
are all
were
half hour
episodes.
Yeah,
and You can tell a complete story inside of half an hour, like 22 minutes or whatever it is.
If you're a good storyteller.
If you're a good storyteller, and that's exactly what it comes down to. And don't go crazy with the CGI, just do practical effects.
Do practical effects, please. Try to go back and draw inspiration from the old shows.
So, guys, thank you so much for joining us in this episode of in our Oktoberfest celebration. We'll be back with more, and like I said, look in our show notes. You can find links to all of our social media, our Instagram, our Discord, our Facebook. You can get us, email us. You can. A lot of you guys know us personally, so you can get us that way. Some of you may not know us personally, and I'm not putting the challenge out there.
If you want to get to know us personally, go over to Discord.
There you go. We hang out there quite a bit.
You can actually chat with us live over there at pretty much any hour of the day, because neither one of us sleep really well.
It's kind of true. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much. I am Alan Smith.
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
The dark side is always there, waiting for us to enter, waiting to enter us. Until next time, try to enjoy the daylight.
The goblins will get you if you don't watch out. To take you and shake you until you shout. Stop, look, and listen. It's Halloween. There's witches and broomsticks and big black hats, stirring up the potions in big black vats. Stop, look, and listen. It's Halloween. Cornstalk standing in the fields at night, the old gray house without a light, the cold white moon shining down so bright, with you and me standing there and shaking with fright, sneaking past the graveyard on trembling knees, faces peeking out at us between the trees. Please stop, look, and listen. It's Halloween. Get you if you don't watch out. They'll take you and shake you until you shout. Hey, stop, look, and listen. It's Halloween. There's witches with broomsticks and big black hats, stirring up the potions in big black vats. Come on, stop, look, and listen. It's Halloween. Cornstalk standing in the fields at night, the old gray house without a light, the cold white moon shining down so bright, with you and me standing there and shaking with fright, sneaking past the graveyard on trembling knees, faces peeking out between the trees. Please stop, look, listen. It's Halloween.